build it and then what, right? So you may know what I'm referring to, we'll talk about that in a minute. But I just, I wanted to get on here because I just got off an interview with Lynn Schulte. I had so much fun, really awesome conversation there. And it's going to be part of the Pelvic Impact Summit, which is going to be amazing at the end of January. So I'm really excited to be able to share that with you. Free event, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So excited to see you there. But yeah, Lynn is awesome and has done a lot to help not only women one-on-one with their pelvic floor, but to also dive into other aspects of, just life, kind of like looking at the, the spiritual side of things, and also looking at energy and, how these things really can play a part in everything that we do, right? And so love that. But she's also she put together this institute to help others be certified and then be able to help even more women as well, which I think is awesome and definitely aligned with my mission, because I want to help 1,000 pelvic floor specialists to be able to grow their business, because I know your message is so important, and it's, important to get out there. And so that's why I'm doing it. So fun stuff for sure. But we got talking about how build it and then what, right? And so the quote I'm referring to is build it and they will come, right? If you've seen Field of Dreams, build it and they will come. So go build this, take part of your farm and go, just build this, like, build the baseball field. Sorry about that. But yeah, right. So build the baseball field, and then these people are going to come, and people will just come, right? That's just what happens. And in online marketing, that's what a lot of people think. I used to think that 100% is in my mind, it was all about the idea, right? It was like, okay, this is the perfect thing that I need to do, right? Like, I am going to go build this amazing product, and then people are going to come. Like, one of my very first ventures as an entrepreneur was innovative web solutions. Okay, so at this point, I'd already built some websites for people and had some experience in there, and I was like, I need to do my own hosting. I need to do websites and things like that. And so I go and build this website, right? Build innovative web solutions. I get the hosting all set up. I get all the packages going and everything like that. And then I just am like, okay, well, now people are going to come, right? Like, I built this, and so where are the people, right? And then, of course, no one came. Like, literally no one came. And I've done some, hosting for different people and things like that. But, it's one of those things that just because I went and built that product and offering didn't mean that anyone was going to come, right? And especially when you have zero following, like I had, then there's no way that that's going to work, right? And so that's one of the myths that happens, especially online, is like, you see all these other people, you see these ads, you see these things going, and you're like, oh man, I want that. I'm going to do that, right? And so you're like, okay, let's do it. Let's just go build it, and then we'll put it out there, right? And I did similar things with apps. I built some apps, and I was like, man, this is the best idea ever. And having built a lot of different apps, it's one of my favorite things is people always come like, oh, dude, I have the best idea. Like, it's so amazing. You do this and do that. You probably had ideas. Honestly, like, everyone has this kind of app idea, and there's kind of just this notion of like, oh, it's such a cool app idea, right? But having gone through that multiple times and launching apps and then nothing happening hardly, right? Or having limited success or whatever, you realize that is a myth that you have to face. And you have to realize that just because you build it does not mean that people are going to come, right? You really need to take a look at what is your strategy and what are you going to do and how is it going to hit that, right? And one other experience too is I remember meeting someone on Instagram, and we were chatting back and forth, and I was, hearing about what their goals were. And what they were saying is that, they're a pelvic floor physical therapist. They really love what they do, but, they see these people online that have a business where they can just go wherever they want, right? That they can just travel, and they have this online program and it all works, right? And it's definitely not a a bad goal or a bad thing to have in place. But you really have to take a step back and figure out how is that going to happen, right? Number one, what are you going to be charging for that, right? A lot of people think, oh, I need to build a course and I'm going to charge $100, right? Well, yeah, but if I get, 1,000 people, it's $100,000. Like, that's huge, And I mean, it's only 1,000. It's not that many, And it's like, but also, what about a $10,000 product? Let's say you're selling a $10,000 product. Now, it's going to be sold a lot different than a $100 product, but 10,000, how many of those do you need? You need 10 of those to get to the same number, right? So 1,000 versus, 10, which is pretty crazy. But that's just one step of that is like, what are you actually going to be pricing? What is the value that you're going to be doing? And then how are you going to be marketing that, right? So imagine, if you have 1 million followers and let's say, any given product that you promote that, 2% are going to buy or something like that, right? If you have that many followers, then sure, you can promote certain things and expect a decent amount of sales through it. But most people don't have 1 million followers or 1 million people on their list, right? Like, it's not that easy. And so it's really important to really figure out how are you going to be marketing your services, before you actually go and build it all, right? And part of that is sometimes doing a beta program is a really good way to do it, because what you can do is kind of envision what you feel like you want to do, right? Maybe it's some sort of coaching program, some sort of group session program, where there's some of your time where you need to be involved, but it's not like purely one-on-one. And maybe you can charge $1,000 to $2,000 for it for, a month or two, depending on what you're doing. Then you're able to paint this picture and really look at, what you're going to be able to do and go and help several people through that journey. First of all, you don't have to spend all this time and money on marketing and on advertising and all these different things, because you're going to go find this group of people to help, right? You're going to find 5 to 10. Maybe they're already clients that you've had in the past, but you have this new thing that you want to offer, or whatever. But it allows you to then really test that out, see how it goes, and then you can go from there, right? And so the thing is, but if you don't have any, it's just like this notion of like, don't just go build it, right? Don't just go build it. You got to really like strategize and think a little bit more about it before you can go and do it. The one thing I will say though, is that there is a lot of value in taking action, right? Like when you're taking action, you're continuing to try it out, to try new things, to see if it works or not, right? Because there is also this notion of analysis paralysis, right? Where you're like, okay, well, I need to research this forever. Like, I love to learn, and I think it's really interesting. I love taking courses. I love learning things. And so I've struggled with this in the past too, where it's like, oh, but I just need to like get the perfect thing, right? And just do it. And so it's like you spent all this time continuing to try, but in your own little bubble, right? But then, you don't actually get that feedback until you actually show it to someone else, right? Show it to someone else, ask them what they think, help them go through the program. You can do a free like pilot program too. But anyways, there's so many different things. And this is what one of the things that I did is ran a pilot challenge. So I put a challenge together that I was teaching this content because I wanted to have a smaller group of people get their feedback, went through that, found a few things that really resonated, found some other things that didn't resonate. And then I was able to take that and then put on another challenge, right? Which I'm doing. And so anyways, that's just, I want you to, just don't worry so much about building everything right now. Like really, it's important to get that feedback from people. And it's really important to be able to, validate what you have, so that you can then take it to a bigger market, right? And so don't just go build it and expect everything's going to come. You need to have some sort of plan in place, and that's what's just really important. It's really important to do that so that you can then continue to find that success in that, and the, you know, what you're really looking for. And the other thing that's really good about that too is if you focus less on just building everything out first, but really like testing out ideas and trying to get feedback from people, is you'll hear, right, what they say. You know, as I was putting on this pilot challenge, as I mentioned, I was reaching out to some people, kind of explaining the challenge, what we're going to be talking about, and why I was doing it, right? And as I did that, I kind of just explained my story, right? Explained that, you know, my wife and I went through my wife went through 5 pregnancies, but it wasn't until the 5th one that we actually had heard about pelvic floor therapy. So to me, it really resonated. It was like, wow, like, why do more women not know about this? And this is clearly important to my wife and to others. And so anyways, I just kind of shared my story with a few people, and they, you know, had someone say like, oh man, your sales pitch got me. And I was like, that wasn't even a sales pitch, right? Like, I was just sharing my story. And so it's just like, that's the type of stuff though, that as you go, you can really get that feedback. You can really hear from people, hear what they say, and then be able to make a difference in that way. So I encourage you to do that, to test things out, to really get feedback from people before you build stuff, because they'll certainly help you and tell you what things that you should do. But if you're going to err on the side of anything, just err on the side of taking action. Yeah, taking action is super important, and it allows you to continue to hear from people and to change and to adjust. So I encourage you to do that. So thanks so much for tuning in.